Alright, there you go. So the deal is with all the makeup stuff is I'm going to try and do a couple of effects in real time for you, so you can actually see what's involved with them. I'm only me, so I can only use my left arm for actual makeup application stuff. But I can use my right hand for doing it. Latex gloves is a good idea when you're actually dealing with any of this messy crap, especially if you're going to be actually in the thing yourself, because you want to be able to not have crap all over your hands in your scene. So it's not very professional. Bottle of blood. Very good idea, very, very cheap. It is, so let me think, it is bottle of chocolate topping for ice cream, a bottle of fake maple syrup, so the cheap kind of crap maple syrup, 1 bottle of the rose pink food colouring, half a bottle of yellow food colouring, and about 3 or 4 drops of the blue colouring. And you tip that all into the bottle and shake it up, and you get a blood that looks like this. Which put on looks very, very good. So you'll see that in practice in a minute. Okay, some really very essential tools for a very cheap makeup kit. Bottle of latex. I got about 5 litres of this for about $40 or something. It's the industrial latex as opposed to the art and craft latex, so you're supposedly not supposed to put it on your face or body or any of that kind of stuff, but I do. So maybe warn people if you're going to be doing makeup on them, say this will stick to you and it might hurt when I take it off. So people need to be warned of these things, I think, first. Okay, what I've got in my makeup bag, I'm really, really messy, so my crap's just everywhere. I've got some really nice pink plasticine, okay, and that sounds really, really weird, but I can't really afford things like mortician's wax and things like that, which is what people use a lot of the time. So I have to go and get plasticine, which I can then use for the same purpose. So, kitchen knife, this is a straight up butter knife. So that's probably your most helpful tool in a very, very cheap makeup kit. So knead your plasticine a little bit until it gets nice and soft and pliable. You want to be able to actually be able to spread this on your skin and everything. Now I'm really, really hairy, so me doing effects like this on myself is really quite painful because I often have to rip latex straight out of my actual hair. So soapy water is a good way to kind of get it all off. But you know, if you can avoid putting on hairy parts, it's probably the best thing. Now, just to do something like I'm just going to slip my wrist there. I make myself a little plasticine snake, about this big, or a little bit smaller. You can just kind of do it whatever size you want. So I just pinched off a little bit again there. Because this kind of stuff, you don't want these effects to stand out from your skin too much because they look quite ridiculous. So you want to try and make it look as believable as possible. So you want it to try and look as much like it is actually stuck to you as possible. So we get our snake and we squish it nice and flat. Nice and flat like that, looks like a piece of chewing gum or something. I'm just putting that on my wrist. Alright, now look, all my effects might stuff up in the middle of me doing them, but I'm just going to try and do it anyway. Now I actually... this is the problem when you just use you. I try and just spread this on there nice and gently. Try and get down all the sides. You can fix it up a little bit once it's on there. I just smooth the edges and stuff. It's just a bit of a priority to get it stuck first of all. So just blending the sides down here. I obviously can't move the camera any closer because it's on a tripod and I've got to do this with 2 hands already. So I'm sorry about that if you don't get the best view. But look, all I'm doing is just I'm just smoothing these edges. As you can see at the moment, it's really, really very obvious where it is and everything. Just kind of pat it down. Always get your loose bits of plasticine off your knife because they'll end up sticking to the nice effect that you're trying to do. So you could use any kind of sculpting tool for this. If anyone's got wooden tools or any of that stuff, it might also be better. I just use a butter knife because everyone's got them and they're very, very, very cheap. So if they get messy and everything, you just go and get yourself another one that costs about 20 cents. Some of them will get crusted with paint and things you simply can't take off. Now something like this is really good for a slit wrist. It's also really good for something like stitches. I could slit this down the middle and then sew it back up again, and it would look really quite cool. Okay, so at the moment, that looks really, really crappy. You can see where it is and everything. You guys with the camera, you can see, it doesn't stand out quite as much. It looks a lot pinker to me than you guys should be seeing. Okay, so anyway, that's just roughly put on there at the moment. I'm not used to working with gloves. This is my first time, so there you go. Just trying to get the top of my latex. Now if I kept that in the fridge, it wouldn't have done that. But basically that's just turned to rubber around the edge of that bottle. Okay, so that's all off, that's all good. So I just can stick my finger in the bottle of latex. Just get a little bit, smooth it on the edges of this plasticine, just to kind of, what all that does is, you know, very, very simply, is that this just means that these edges will turn to rubber now, and this effect will be stuck on there. So if I want to then do stitches or something on there, it's stuck already and it's not going to be moving. And I can paint it afterwards. I can put on, you know, all the different foundations and all that kind of crap afterwards. So good anyway. Just make sure to have some tissue or a cloth handy so you can wipe yourself clean. So that's what that is at the moment. So still very, very messy, but it doesn't really matter. So I'll get out some foundation. My makeup bag is so messy. Try and keep your makeup bag as clean as you can, because then you won't be stuffing around like I will. Trying to get out things that, especially when you're working with one hand, it's just stupid. Okie dokie. So I'm just now putting some foundation just around the edges of this. You can see very, very obviously where you put the latex turns white. So you're just trying to definitely cover up that, and also just kind of the edges of the pink plasticine. Now something like this, I'm going to end up bruising the whole thing anyway, so that doing a blending job with the foundation, you don't have to do as good a job as you might think you might have to do. So that's just really, really rough. Already it's blended a lot better than it was. Yeah, but you can see that lip bit I'm just about to slit. Okay, so don't stress too much about blending your foundation, because you're going to end up hacking it up and covering it in blood anyway. Okay, just to give you guys a good view. Okay, what I'm doing now is right down the middle of my cut, right down the middle of my giant plasticine blob, I'm just slitting that now, okay? So really simply, that's just slit like that. I can then kind of mush open the sides, give a bit of a serrated look down the edges and everything, make it a bit grosser. So that's what we end up with for that. Okay, now if I'd made that snake originally a little bit flatter anyway, it wouldn't be poking up as much, but you know, who the hell cares when you're seeing something so quickly anyway. Look, that's the whole thing with all these kinds of effects, is that once you know what you want to try and show on the film, it's really easy to be quite minimalist with that kind of makeup and go, well, I know that effectively the audience is going to get to see this effect for about a second and a half or 2 seconds, and then it's going to move on to something else, and whether it's another effect or whatever, it's going to move on to something else. So they're not going to remember a great deal what they've just seen, for one, and also contextually, kind of what you've done gets a little bit, I don't know, lost in the grand scheme of things. So all I'm doing now is I've got some purple, I don't know what this is, eyeshadow, I guess. I'm just using this big brush, and I'm just basically bruising this a little bit. Just kind of darkening it up, making it a bit splotchier and everything. And any of that kind of stuff does hide the imperfections in it, so it's all good. I just just darken that up slightly, very, very, very slightly from what you guys can see. So that's all cool. Now I get my, a little bit of black paint. Now I advise not using permanent paint or anything. Get yourself some face paint or something water-based paint or something. Just don't want house paint or any of that kind of crap going on you. So now my brushes, always clean your brushes. My ones look like they've been dipped in toffee because they're so hard with the blood coating all over it. But if you end up with a sharp end brush, just keep it anyway because you can always use it for things like this. Now I want to paint black down the middle of this crack to make it look like it's open. So just very gently, just apply a little bit of that down the middle. You can always open up the cut a little bit with the brush while you're actually doing that. So that looks a bit bodgy at the moment, but then we can always get the finger and just splotch a little bit of the black around the place. Very, very lightly. You don't want to do too much because you don't want it to lose the actual cut or whatever you've got. So I put on way too much there, but that's alright. I'm going to cover that with blood. So that's what that looks like now. So it's got a little bit of bruising, it's got a little bit of, I don't know, dirt or grit or whatever in that cut. So if you put too much, if you put too splotchy or whatever, just extend those blotches out so it looks completely intentional. I just make them a little bit further out from the cut as well, and it blends the edges of that latex and plasticine on my hand a lot better anyway. Like I can't see that blend nearly as much. And last step is to put some blood on it. So I just try and drip this directly into the cut so I've got some nice accuracy with where I actually, with the exact place you want to put that. So it's in the cut at the moment, and then just like I did with the black paint, just get my finger and I can just splotch that around over the top of the black, over the top of the latex effect and everything. Effects like where you just want the person to slit their wrist and you don't want to have all of this grotesque kind of splatter effect everywhere. There you have to be a little bit more delicate with your application of your foundation and everything. But when you're making up 10 people all at once, this is the best and simplest way to actually do it, because it doesn't take a huge amount of time. You can splatter blood all over your arm or whatever, and it just blends all these effects that much better as well. So that's that all finished. I get a big slice in my arm. So that's, yeah, nice big wrist slit, I guess. And if you use that in context with, a lot of other effects and everything, something like that would actually look quite nice. You can see it's got a bit of detail in there and everything. Pretty gross. So that's very, very easy. That's very simple little effect. So you might be looking at that going, well, that looks like crap. Hopefully not. But these are all things where in context, they look a lot better than they ever will when you're just sitting in your room doing them by yourself. Okay, so that's slit wrist. So that's a pretty simple little effect to do. Another very, very simple one to do is one of my favourite, and when you're making up kind of a lot of people all at once, it's probably the easiest thing to do with a large group of people. Okay, so I am going to use, have I got some of my face clear? Yes I do. No, but I won't use my face yet. I'll use the top of my arm here. Okay, so I'm just getting some latex. Yeah, just doing a thin layer of latex on there. Now this is just to act as the base for this effect. Just a thin layer of latex. Be careful of the hair again. Now get some toilet paper. I'm just tearing this up into shreds. I'm using double ply and I'm also using recycled, so it's already brown. Being already brown means that you don't have to put as much foundation over the top of it. So try and get yourself recycled toilet paper. I'm just patting this onto the latex I just put on my arm. And this is just holding it all on here. Now you don't have to use too much of that because it's very, this is a very, very simple effect, and as I say, when you're working with a lot of people, you just want to be able to do things that people can get done and then go back onto set. Okay, so you do one layer of the tissue paper or the toilet paper, whatever you're using, and then do another coat of the latex over the top of that. Latex is also heat sensitive, so as you use it, if you spread it very, very thinly with your finger or whatever and you're close to it and you're putting it on skin, chances are it will dry almost immediately, and you can see that. It goes on white and it dries a bit opaque, I guess, so you can actually see through. You can see through it when it's actually dry, which is good. If it's very thin. If it's not thin when you've applied it and it dries, it will just dry white. So that's something you can always get, like a bit of latex, like the ones I've got. It's so cheap. You can always get some of that and just pour a bottle of foundation into your, get a second bottle and just kind of siphon some off or whatever. But it never hurts to have a bottle with some foundation in there already. For doing all this kind of stuff, it's just a lot less bottles you're having to worry about if you don't have to remember to take your foundation everywhere you go. So I'm just doing a smaller second dose of the toilet paper in there. Just a lot less of it there and concentrating it in the middle so that the sides will be a lot thinner than the middle will, because I want the middle for the main part of the effect. Once again, I'm not going to worry a huge deal about my blending with the foundation. I just won't with any of this stuff because it's just really not important. I'm not very good at blending foundation for one, and it's something where what I've done so far hasn't really warranted that much detail going into that. So you can see it's just drying that patch on my arm. Yep, all good. So I'm just going to get a little bit of foundation. I'm not really going to care that much. Chuck that on me. Because yes, I'll probably just do that over the top of it to blend all that. And all these effects also, because you're using this proper industrial strength latex and everything, they don't stay looking very realistic for very long. So something like this, you'd have to keep on blooding up if you wanted to use it. Because the longer you leave that, the more dried out it will get, and it just looks really, really unrealistic. So anyway, that's blended pretty badly, but that's blended nonetheless. There's that patch on my arm. Okay, so with something like this, you get your knife again. If you've got any pokey things, I'm going to use this pair of little scissors I've got, which is not very safe, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Trust that's dry enough at the moment. I know where I put my thicker part of it in the middle. Alright, and in that thicker part, I'm just going to gently, when you're doing this on somebody else, always ask them beforehand, just tell me if I'm poking you with anything, just so they do tell you before you cut them or something, because I'm using a pair of scissors on my arm, so it's pretty stupid. Okay, so I'm just pulling up this thicker part of the latex and tissue mix, and you can see that peels off my arm as I'm doing it. Okay, so just do it nice and gently because you can still get a bit of detail doing it this way. And I can feel as I'm doing it the bits that aren't actually dry yet, so that's also alright, so I won't dig greatly into them. But this is the deal, if you're doing makeup on a lot of people, you can line up 5 or 6 people in a row and get these kinds of effects just all going on at the same time. Just by doing the step of one latex to one person, getting to the next person, doing some more latex on them, and just kind of trying to do them all at once, because you don't want to be doing a 15-20 minute effect on each person that's going to take you kind of 4 or 5 hours to do. Unless you want to do that. I don't want to discourage people from doing that, but I was acting, so I had to do these and then step into what I was doing. So it was always a lot easier if I could just do these kind of rougher effects. And you'll see in the film, we've got like a lot of the group scenes and everything, I didn't know at the time because we hadn't edited that much. I didn't know what I could get away with. So I didn't really know how to do a large group of people very, very easily without having to show too much. Like, I didn't know that you couldn't show that much and get away with it, is my point. I'm concentrating, that's why I'm not making a lot of sense. Okay, so anyway, I've ripped that open. You can say it's ripped open, it's just a big hole at the moment. So, we can always do things with just using your fingers, pulling it back a little bit more. Picking at the sides a little bit and stuff. This can be so rough, this kind of stuff, because it's supposed to look like ripped skin. It's supposed to look really gross. So it doesn't matter if it does look really dirty and does look really gross. Now, just in case you're wondering, this awesome music I'm listening to is written by the wonderful Lucas Katsoulides, who's a friend of mine and a brilliant artist. So I'm playing his music in the background because, you know, gotta plug your friends, I think. So, just put a little bit more latex in the middle. I'm putting a little bit of toilet paper in the middle as well. Now all this does is it gives texture which isn't your skin, because your skin looks like skin. If you do something like toilet paper and latex, it's got this kind of papery, almost like, you know, old mummies kind of look. So if you do that, you get your different texture in the middle, which then if you paint over the top of it, it just doesn't quite look like skin, so it looks a bit grosser. So that's that. So you can see the middle at the moment's really wet, so that's why it's white. You can also see that skin blowing in the breeze, which is nice, which is very, very nice. Okay, so now get back to our black paint, and I'm going to use a sponge this time because I stuffed that up last time just using my finger. What's the bet I stuffed this up using this as well? Okay, so I'm just blotting this a bit around the outside, like we did last time. If you concentrate more in the middle, then that looks, I don't know, looks like that's the part of the stronger hole or something. And so you can darken that up there, and then just kind of, like we did with the fingers last time, just pat that around. Pat that around the whole area, because as soon as we pat that around with the blood as well, all these really giant black fingerprints, should get all blended. You can see my middle is still white at the moment. That's drying though as I'm talking, so I can then open that up a bit with the end of my brush. Yum. Pull back all that skin. On the skin. And it makes you feel kind of gross doing some of these things sometimes, because you look down at yourself and you're like, yuck, I'm pulling open my arm, that's really quite disgusting. And the worst is when you do stitches. That makes you feel really quite sick. Okay, so I've just pulled back these lips a little bit. Yep. And yes, I do change what I call things as I'm doing it as well. So if I call them lips or edges or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, because I'm doing it at the same time. Okay, so I'm just painted the inside of that black. If you can paint the inside of the flaps black as well, just means that if the camera gets on that angle at all, it won't show white skin on the inside. Okay? So look, already these kinds of things, you know, what can you see of that? Like, what does the camera actually pick up? If I'm back here, what do you see? So that's just something, okay? That's just something to remember, is that already you do something that's rather extravagant or whatever, but what do you get to see? So you got 15 or 20 people with all these kinds of effects on, it's just a waste, I think. So, now unless you've got the time, if you've got the time, go for it. But if you've got 15 minutes to get everyone done and then get them on set, just make up a couple of people the way you can, and then doing black and red on other people should suffice just for, you know, 19 frame shot or 1.5 second frame shot or whatever. So I'm putting on a lot of blood on this one just to kind of gross you out a little bit. And see, just patting around, try not to make it look too much like fingers. But now see, I can open up that cut and just kind of rub all the blood and stuff in there. All that kind of stuff anyway. So there's a big, what would that be, a bite, climbing over a barbed wire fence and getting stuck on it. Any number of things that could be used for, but it looks quite gross. Having the black in the hole makes it look like a hole. You know, as I say, the more blood you pat over everywhere, the better job it kind of does of giving kind of atmosphere, that effect, I guess. So then it's somebody's grabbed my arm and bitten it and then held on and kept on biting. So this one looks pretty crappy now. So as I say, you get not much life on these unless you bloody them up more. Okay, that one on my arm should last a little bit longer. But look, it's looking gross anyway. Last, I can do 2 more I guess on this arm before I'm full. But look, all these kinds of things anyway, it's all about you just trying to give it a shot. Because a lot of the way I do things, it's the way I do things. I know that sounds absolutely stupid, but it's the way I've kind of come about doing these things, and it's the way that for me is the easiest to do when I'm on set and I've got to do people like that, I guess. So, bullet holes. Bullet hole, once again I make my little snake. My glove's getting too gross, so I'm going to have to take it off and chuck it back on again when I do the actual painting crap. Or not. Okay, so I get my little donut, my little snake, and I turn it into a donut. Aha, that is going to be my bullet hole. Okay, so, very simply, where's the best place for me to do this? Let's do this on my face. Let's do this on my face. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn around so I can look in the mirror while I'm actually talking. So, pay attention. Just like the other ones, try not to make big expressions while you're doing these things, big forehead expressions, because you'll knock it off. I'll stick that on. Blend the sides again. Now, if anyone ever saw my makeup folio, a lot of it is me. So I've had to do a large amount of effects on my face already. So if you're watching me going, why the hell is he doing that on himself? It's for one, because I'm sitting here by myself. 2, because I think I can. So just like with the other one, just get it on there first and then worry about smoothing it out. Don't try and smooth your edges all perfectly while you've got half of it on there, because you're just going to aggravate the rest of it and it will fall off. Remember to get your balled up piece of crap off there while you're doing it. Okay, you can still see me, that's alright. Just blending these edges a little bit more. As always, you're going to end up bruising the sides and everything, so perfection does not matter. And if I get enough blood pouring down my head anyway, it will be cool. Okay, so it's nice and clean anyway. Just going to butcher that whole bit. Don't really need a perfect circle, you just do whatever works for you. So that's what that is without anything on there. Okay, so we get my foundation. You can see my foundation has that much left in it, so that's why it's taking me so long to get anything out of the bastard. Okay, got foundation on my finger. Chucking that on. As usual. And you see I've completely disregarded my whole glove thing and having clean hands, so there you go, pretty silly in that way. Okay, so, done the foundation. I mean, pretty rough, who the hell cares? Now my spongy doodad. And you might be watching me going, he keeps on forgetting things, like he forgot to do the, I don't know, blush stuff or whatever it was, the eyeshadow on my arm, but who the hell cares? Just do it as it suits. So here I'm turning this away. Don't get to lose too much of me. So black. The important part here is to black within that hole. So way too much black I put on. That doesn't matter. So we'll blend those sides of that. And up into my head a little bit. So yeah, this might be really boring for you if you're just watching it, just for the sake of watching it. So hopefully you're watching it hoping to get some makeup, cheap makeup experience stuff out of it. Okay, so you really lose a lot of that because of all that black on there. But I'll paint the inside of the whole black anyway. See if that helps. It's a true black in there. Yeah, so you can see that hole. Yeah. Okay, now I get my blood. Okay, just give me a second here. You can watch me spill this all over myself. Whoa. Okie dokie. Once again, slapping this blood all over myself. If you can't tell, I really like this blood. Really like it. Always blood in the hair looks good. Okay, so there you go, I'm happy with that. That's just a hole in the head. Where you get that? So pretty much, like, I assume you've watched the film, that scene with the dude that comes through the door and gets punched with the chain and then hit with the banjo, he came through the door once and his head was absolutely fine. He got punched with the chain, and then I did 3 of these kind of effects on his forehead, kind of where the chain would have actually punched, so that when he came back through again, he had the 3 holes in his head. So yeah, something like this, I'm pretty happy with that. You could chuck on as much blood as you wanted, obviously. You think it's looking a bit crap. So there you go. Things like bruises and that, I'm really not very good at. I'm not very good at doing black eyes and things like that. That's why, like, Bill in the film has his punched eye and it doesn't look 100%. It doesn't look too bad, but definitely doesn't look, I don't know. Doesn't look like some other bruises you'd see. So yeah, I like blood. There we go. There we go. Perfect, perfect. There you go, and if you stick your eye closed with blood, that's also quite gross. Yeah, so it's quite gross anyway. That kind of thing, like, what the hell can you say? What would people think it was? So, if it was somebody getting beaten up with a baseball bat or whatever, things like this, you wouldn't really know what it was supposed to be, so it wouldn't really matter. And you see effects that look worse than this. Like, there's stuff that looks crap that you just see in regular films. So look, things like this with the big splatter effects and that, they look good enough to kind of be something. Now I'm just going to grab the sewing kit. Have I got a pin in my sewing kit? Yes I do, yes I do. So stitches are gross. So it's a similar effect again to the, that's that wrist slitting one. Come on, you thing. So you can watch me thread a needle and it'll be extraordinarily interesting for you. But with all these things, as I said before, you're not going to be doing them necessarily my way. So you've just got to figure out what your style is, I guess. My style is my old art style, basically. I'm messy and gross. So that's kind of it. That's the look I always try and go for. It's something that doesn't look finished, something that looks quite raw. I like grossing people out. That's basically my deal. So if I'm a little bit messy, and it just adds the effect. Okay, so threaded needle. So you've seen there's films where people will have to get stitched up and stuff. So my stitches obviously aren't surgical stitches. They look like they should. They're going to be quite gross and quite rough. So once again, I've put a lot of black plasticine into my, a lot of black paint in my plasticine now by accident, so... Oh well, they will just get covered up with blood, as we know, so that's alright. So I make myself a sausage again, just like the wrist slitting one, it's done exactly the same. So I make myself my sausage, I flatten my sausage, I look at it and go, wow, that's way too long for what I need, so I cut off the little end bit. Tuck in my flat sausage again. So this one's a bit of a bodgy flat sausage, so I'll just try and get that a little bit neater. Still need to stick to my skin, obviously. So get back my knife again. Stick this down nice and gently. I'm onto a hairy part on my arm now, so this isn't going to work anywhere near as well, but I've run out of clean parts. So just putting this on roughly to begin with, doesn't really matter as we know. So it's just like spreading toast. Aha. Okay, so that didn't stick on too badly. The part that's worrying when you do this for me with the hairy arm is the latex, so I might err on the side of, I don't know, minimal stuff and not put on a huge deal of that if that's alright for everybody. Because you know what I'm doing. Okay, so stuck on. So you're just going to flatten that with your fingers a little bit. Smooth down the sides. Okay, nice and easy. Get a little bit of me brown. I'll stick on some latex first. And my fingers are covered in crap with this at this point, but that's alright. So I'm just doing a very, very thin layer of this because I really don't want it in my hair. Smoothing down the edges. Okay, so those edges should be stuck anyway. Okay, so all good. I'm going to chuck on some foundation. Now I could do this after I did the effect, it doesn't really matter. It's just really more to cover the pink of the plasticine, I guess, at this point. And it also depends, if you want to show somebody getting stitched up in close-up, then it might be nice to actually do a lot better job with your foundation and everything, you know. But because I'm just going to do this roughly, as I say, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so got that. Get my knife, slip down the cut like I did with the other one. So make sure to be nice and gentle, because if it's just stuck on a tiny bit with latex, you don't want it just to fall off when you're doing this. Okay, so with this one, we can just keep on going over the same cut again, just to open that up all nicely. And now I'm down, I can feel the knife on my skin, so I know I've kind of gotten down to the bottom of the effect at least. So that's what that is. So really, it's, nah. You know, it doesn't look 100% by any means. But I'm grabbing a little bit of black. I'm going to try and paint this directly into the hole. So you just kind of open up this cut a little bit to be able to get that brush in there, because it's a big ass brush. Okay, so I'll just open that up. Yep. And I'm going to just paint down the middle of that. And paint the edges of that effect as well. Now look, if you're looking at how much black I use and just going, he's an idiot, it looks like crap, just don't use it. Just do the way you want to do it. It's not, no, this isn't any rules. So that's very much it. Okay, so now I put the black on there, and now I can kind of just fold those edges back down just to kind of close it over the black. But I've got the black in there. It's in there, and I will, I can put the spare black that's on my fingers, I can just dab that around the place as I've been doing. But I won't blood this up until after I've done the stitches, because from experience, it's an absolute nightmare sewing through that blood, because the blood's way too sticky, and as soon as the blood starts to dry, you're kind of sewing through what feels like almost kind of toffee or some crap. So just be a bit patient with this one. So I blotted a tiny bit of that around the place. Doesn't really matter, it's just for effect. So I get my needle and thread. Okay, so for you guys there, I'm digging in, and you can see it's just like regular skin. Now be nice and gentle with it. If I'd covered the entire thing with latex, then I could be a little bit rougher with it because it would just sew together the rubber. But because I haven't done that, I'm at the moment just sewing together plasticine. So you don't want your plasticine just... Are we back? Yes, we are back. Sorry about that, guys. I ran out of tape. It's highly unprofessional of me. Okay, but anyway, I'm back to this thing anyway. I'm spilling crap all over the floor because I keep on kneeling on my tools and everything. But there you go. So obviously if you used white thread or something, it might stand out a little bit better than using black, especially because my whole effect is black and it's got all the blood and everything on there. And also if you made one side, like if you were doing this on your neck, you would use two different foundations, and you would do it so that half of it was one shade and the other half was a slightly lighter or darker shade, because then, you know, you get that look of it's been two types of skin or whatever you're sewing back together. I'm just doing one where someone's been cut, I guess. So this is what you end up getting. I do advise using more latex, like doing latex not just to hold this one on, but chucking it up around the cut. Like, it would have just made it so much easier. Yeah, it's still fine, but I don't like the idea that it feels like it's going to rip my plasticine. Okay, so look, you can barely see that kind of crap anyway. But you know it's there. You know it's there, and if that was a close-up of somebody's neck and they had that all over there, it might look really quite cool. So now I'm not even going to really bother chucking on any more black. I'm just going to bloody that up. So remember, we try and get our blood in the hole. Whoa! Try not to spill it on my carpet. So I'm just being as delicate as I can be. And you'd hope that if you'd done the stitches on this person anyway, they wouldn't really be that bloody. So yes, that's when it comes into having nice foundation blendings and all that kind of crap, so you can show a little bit more detail. Because with something like this, when it's too bloody, you just end up losing the actual effect. It still looks pretty gross to me. But I'm right next to it, so maybe that's why. So you get a bit of detail. Yeah? Yeah, you know. So like that, there's that one. So you can see that one now is crusted up like a big bastard, but we can bloody that up and just see what they all look like. This guy's gonna look stuffed up. This guy being me, by the way. So, yeah, so if this was on the day and somebody was needing to get very, very made up for their shot, just make sure to keep on, like, wet blooding up the most important parts of this. Because the place where you've got, like, the fingerprints all over there and everything, you can't tell if they're not wet and it wouldn't really matter. But for the inside of the cuts, they should still be bleeding, if that's the case. So you just don't want them to look like they've been sitting there for a couple of years. So big slashes, blood all over because this guy's really, really messy and crap. Just being shot. He has a giant hole on his arm. You know, all that kind of stuff. This is all dried up a little bit now. It's a little bit crustier looking. It doesn't really matter. So there you go. There's my arm. So that's my left arm. So we get wrist slit. We get stitches. We get that giant holy mess, and we get my head. So that's 4 pretty simple effects. That, you know, on film these would come up very, very nicely. They would look like they should, and they should look believable enough that, you know, for absolutely no money, that all these effects probably just cost me about 30 cents. So just do it, and enjoy. Really, just try and bring your own style to try and do this thing. Don't try and copy my style, because I don't know if I have much. Just do your own thing and have fun with it. And just try and do different things. Stick glass in there. Well, I shouldn't say glass. Stick fake glass or a piece of plastic in there or whatever to mean glass. Stick pins through there or nails through there. Do a bit of a... I can't mention any other films or anything, I don't think. But, you know, you've seen films with people stuck with pins in their heads and things like that. So if you try doing things like that, you know, just have a bit of fun with it. And one of my favourite makeup was when I put the nails across the guy's head, across his forehead, built up the big fake cheekbones, and sewed his face on either side with 2 different toned foundations. So you get kind of that freaky, monstery looking kind of look. So there you go, everyone. Good luck. I've got that pin swinging from my arm. Good luck with your own stuff, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.